Bearded Biomed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to an all-new episode of the Bearded Biomed. I'm your host, Chase. And as always, on the show, we got to bring on some biomeds that I've just been waiting to talk to. Today, I'm joined by Monty and Bill from the CBET. If you don't know what that is, this is the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology. And I'm really looking forward to getting into the conversation today and just obviously talk Biomed shop, but really want to hear what you guys are doing at the school because, I'm really appreciative of enriching and, building up the next generation for the HTM field. So welcome, gentlemen. And Monty, if you want to get started, just let people know a little bit about yourself and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Well, we're excited to be on and talking with you today. We're just overwhelmed and excited with the success that we've seen you achieve with your podcast, and applaud your efforts to spread the word and do good work for the industry and really elevate the game. My name is Monty Gonzalez. I'm the president of the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology. I've been at that job now for about 4 years with my good friend and colleague, Mr. Bill Bassick.
Hi, my name is Bill Bassick, and I'm the founder of the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology. And we've been doing this now since 2017 when it was accredited, got it reaccredited in 2019. My background is that I started off as a medical technologist, and from there went into field service working on hematology and coag analyzers with Coulter Electronics, who was later bought by Beckman Coulter. After that, I got trained in chemistry, microbiology, and various other specialized life science devices. Ended up working for Core Master Plan when I was through with that, and then GE, and then after GE, ended up with Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, where I learned about HTM. I knew nothing about the responsibilities of a biomedical technician at that time, nor was I qualified to have the job that I was hired for in St. Louis. It was one of those deals where I was liked from having a good personality, being able to do conflict resolution, and they couldn't keep any managers at that hospital. And that's when I learned everything I know now about biomedical as far as management is concerned. After that, the only thing I needed to learn was how to price. So I ended up working for a company called Patriot Medical. And from there, Sodexo bought them out. And that's when I quit and started my own service company up. And I found it hard in Texas to find qualified people that worked for my company, as far as new people, Tech One. So that's when I got the idea to build a school. And one thing led to another. And I did have a brick and mortar school, but due to circumstances, I had to shut that down and sell it, and then reacquired it back in 2017 to be able to meet Monty and one of his good friends, Mr. Scott McKnight. And they helped me for 1 year and didn't require any pay or anything to get this school off the ground and to where it's at now. And it was a major challenge at that time. And we built it at a time where no one really believed in the online school. They didn't share the vision, which was fine, because if they did, then everybody'd have an online school. But the good thing is we don't get upset about that, because now we're able to educate and teach people, do the paradigm shifts, and be able to introduce all this new cool ready to do.
Oh, it's a very interesting journey that you've had. You kind of hit every part of the industry almost. I don't think people realize the amount of money, effort, and just the logistics of running a biomed program. I mean, I went through the Army program when it was still over at Shepherd Air Force Base before it, went down to San Antonio. The types of equipment, maintaining the equipment, the training materials, and then obviously, making sure that all the students are prepped and the testing and everything that goes into it. I would love to just, have y'all, if you wouldn't mind just going into like some of the details a little bit about like, what does it take to keep a biomed program running such as yours? because I want people to appreciate and see just all the blood, sweat, tears, and obviously everything that you guys have put into this, because what you have built from, the brick and mortar to what it is today is obviously sought after and recognized already within our industry, and people appreciate what you guys have put together.
Yep. I'll take the lead on answering that. Yeah. It's been an interesting journey for us, for sure. When we started out in 2017, as Bill said, we literally started the college with 3 plastic boxes full of files and needed to figure out which direction to go. And what's made us successful truly is the people we've surrounded ourselves by. Our core instructional team consists of people that look a lot like you, Chase. They're probably 75% of them are military trained biomeds that have that really rich, deep experience and training. And the rest of our instructional staff includes really seasoned professionals, guys and girls that are out there serving as directors, of clinical engineering departments, people with 30 to 40 years of imaging experience and background, and just really rich, experience and profiles. And that's been the hallmark of who we hire and who we've surrounded ourselves with. And the people that we've brought onto the team have done nothing but add value and enrich the program, and kept it current, as you alluded to. Keeping a program current and relevant requires a tremendous amount of work and effort. One of the things that really distinguishes us and separates us from other opportunities that are out there is the fact that we stay as close as we can to our industry partners. I meet with industry every single day. I'm speaking to a different company, a different colleague out in the field, and we're talking about what's relevant, what's needed, what's necessary, and seeking strong relationships. We act as a sort of a, we want to be the educational center mass, and want to provide really high quality content and service, and we want to graduate technicians from our program that the industry can trust when they hire, know what they're doing. There's always a little bit of sweat equity involved when you hire a brand new technician. You got to mentor them and guide them and train them.
And rightly so, there has to be.
Yeah, it's part of the game. But to the extent that the industry that hires our technicians understands the amount of effort and work that we put into preparing them, that's really important to us. And that's how I'd lead into that question in terms of how it's a huge investment. It's funny, in some of our courses we put 2 instructors in some courses, so we're in some ways doubling our expense, but it's worth it because sometimes that interchange and communication between 2 people equally qualified that see things a little bit differently, it just makes the learning experience that much better. So it's been a challenge. It's been a great challenge. It's been a huge investment, but it's paying off. I think this year we'll probably graduate somewhere between 250 and 300 technicians across the nation.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and those technicians are going to go to work.
Congrats.
With really great companies. Just really just.
You earned this. Let me. That's incredible.
That's good. Thanks.
It's hard. It's hard to do a biomed program. I saw this going to David Broadham's college. He has over, up, in my area. It's a lot of effort, and you have to have a passion for it. That speaks multitudes, though, that you have such, seasoned, dedicated, and just, overall people that want to give back to the field. That those are the people that are teaching the future generation coming out of your school. And, that's what we need. We need, and I agree with, while the expense may be more having 2 technicians, you have to look at it from the aspect is everybody learns a little differently. Also, like you said, the instructors are going to see, issues or perhaps know how to reach a particular student maybe a little bit differently. Maybe wording how to voice a particular repair, or have the insight that you could share and disseminate across your students. That's invaluable. And I would assume that also plays a big part in the learning structure, as well as what the students get back from it. Just out of curiosity, like what's your graduation rate?
Our graduation rate is somewhere between 85 and 90%. Like most educational programs and institutions, you're always going to have some that start and then for whatever reason they can't complete. Either they've had a career change or some life event. Especially through the past 2.5 years with COVID, there's been a lot of life events. But our graduation rate is very high, and our placement rate is really good. Our placement rates are above. I can't remember the last percentages that we had. Somewhere around 75 to 80% placed within 3 to 4 months of graduation. So we don't have any problem placing our.
That says a lot. It's hard for Biomed to find jobs.
Yeah, and on the other side,
which is kind of odd.
Yeah,
we have a labor issue.
If you're looking at return on investment, and you're a student out there looking for a career path, and you're not quite sure what you want to do, you can go spend $100,000 on a 4-year degree and not get a job.
Check for pulse.
You okay, Bill?
Check for pulse.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, I've been looking forward to using that button. You just set me up. Appreciate it.
You can spend $100,000 on a 4-year degree and then not get a job. We've kept we have not adjusted the pricing of our program in quite a few years, and purposely so, because we want students to value the program and what we can offer, and we want to put students to work. And if you keep it at a price point where they can afford to go to school, it makes sense for them. And they know that they can complete a program in 15 months and go get a job that pays a decent living wage with a great career path in front of them. That's an extraordinary opportunity.
Well, the Biomed in general has to value education. Our field warrants and almost requires that we always have to be continuing improving ourselves, whether that's going and getting manufacturer training, maybe going and getting your bachelor's or master's degree, going and getting certifications through the ACI program. We're always having to adapt, learn, and just keep piling on our expertise because the field requires that. So I completely understand that you guys have to, have a certain price point because the person coming in, they have to value that. And after they complete your program, their education doesn't stop there.
Right.
I don't care what biomed's out there. Your education should not be stopping there.
Yeah, your academic and your career paths need to align. And it's critically important that they understand that when they walk across the finish line and graduate a program, they always need to be looking at what's next, depending if they're going to go work whatever role they assume when they graduate. They've always got to be looking at what's next. Do they want to go into imaging? Do they want to get into management? There's some out there that just want to stay a bench tech for the rest of their career, and they're very happy working in that little world. But even there, things are always changing. Technology is updating. New equipment, new devices, new this and that. So, yeah, absolutely. Continuing education is just part of the deal. And especially with this career field, the work that you do is life-saving work. You're touching patients, affecting patients' lives, and there's liability involved, and there's patient care involved, and what you do. I think it's been good. I think over the last couple of years, there's been a lot more recognition, I think, and value placed on the role of a biomedical technician. But yeah, I think absolutely right, Chase. That is an important factor, and continuing education is a component of that. I think a lot of organizations are seeing that as well. And I've noticed that many of them are investing more in sort of tuition reimbursement opportunities and things like that for their workforce.
Yes.
And that's been good. That's a good sign of recognition for this field.
Yeah, and also, that the students coming in, when you're looking for a company or maybe a hospital system to go work for, that's one of the things to look at. Do they value, building you up as a technician, or are they just wanting you to come in to facilitate a singular need?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not organically healthy, as for an organization to not invest in the people that they bring on. So it's good that you guys are instilling that in them. One thing that I like the caveat of what you brought up too, with the change in technology. Bill, I loved getting to go through everything with you at Amy, and I'm sure a lot of people have listened to the prior episode when we go into virtual reality. I'm really appreciative and almost in awe of what you guys have set up through, obviously virtual reality, but 3D modeling as well for teaching your students. What's the process been like for implementing that, and then where do you see it going in the future?
Well, the process is still in its infancy stages right now, but we're looking at a few different options right now. One, we're speaking with a few OEMs. We're trying to get their interest level raised so they can see at it and support us on the development of the new technology coming out with VR development. And there is an interest peak right now. So right now we're at the phase where we have to decide which are priorities we want to do. My goal for the school is to get to 20 medical devices. So when the students go to school, they actually do the VR training. And if they don't want the Oculuses, they can do it through 3D on the computer itself. And then there's the other option we have that's for strategic, is for having the OEMs assist us with the development, or ISOs as well, and then being able to license that software to other entities that want it, they want to rent it if they have to learn how to work on a portable or any type of medical device. So our goal, our long-term goal, is to establish a large library of various different medical devices to repair. And on some of them, the larger devices like CT, not necessarily how to repair the entire CT, but how to repair a process that maybe they haven't done in quite a while and they need a refresher's course in 20 minutes. So that's the long-term goal that we're looking at right now.
If I can,
Well, that gives y'all another avenue too.
if I can add,
It's not just you're. Oh, I'm sorry, Monty.
No,
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, Chase, that 3 years ago, Bill said, I got to give him credit. It was his idea. He's like, we got to get VR. We got to incorporate VR somehow and think about how we can do this. And if we're talking about the investment in education being expensive and a huge resource requirement, the investment in VR is even bigger. It is such a complex, technically challenging thing to do that you can't get it wrong. You have to get it scoped out and do it right the first time. So, it took us a couple of years to get our heads around how to do it. It took us a little bit longer, too, to assemble the right team to be able to do it with the right skill sets and the same passion and the vision to get it done. Now we're there. We have that. We have the team, and we have the vision, and we have the plan, and we have the resources, and we're doing it. So, like what we demonstrated at the AMI exchange is really the tip of the spear. Where we see it going in terms of operationalizing those good ideas, that now is the next challenge. So, our view is that education is changing rapidly. On a philosophical side, we're in an exponential era where technology is advancing things so rapidly it's hard to keep up and see around the corner. We believe that VR is looking around the corner, and that's what's next, and education is going to change and follow that path. So on a practical side now, once we develop that VR content, we got to do exactly what you were alluding to, Chase, which is how do you integrate that into programs and training and education? Well, we're figuring that out, but how we're doing it is not by looking internally. We're looking outwards through partnerships. So, we worked with Steve Mall at Mall Biomedical, for example. We said, okay, let's pilot our med-right injector training with Steve, and let's see if we can make it work.
And he already has such a rich history of training built with the injectors. I mean, even my company and several others, when you want to get injector training, you go to Mall Biomed. That's just,
and Steve,
he has it. So why not tap on somebody that's don't reinvent the wheel.
Right. He's great. Steve's great. And for us, it's like, if we could convince Steve that our product was viable and our approach was viable, well, now we have a guy who's recognized really as an industry standard bearer, telling the community, this works and this process works. And look, we just did it. So that was really exciting for us to do that. And that partnership meant a lot to us. And, so that was a huge success and a huge win for our team. And we're going to be doing more work like that with Steve in the future, even though he's an Air Force guy. As an Army guy, I'm overlooking that. It's just fantastic approach. And then looking at other opportunities, we're doing the same thing. So we partnered with Medical Imaging Solutions about a year and a half ago to form the Imaging Academy, which is an extension of our college. And with the Imaging Academy, we're taking the good work that we've done in the biomed world and then taking it into the imaging world. And so we've developed some really high-end training content to build into the Imaging Academy courses. And the same thing, you saw the tube replacement, very technical, high-end types of training. And so our approach, one of the questions you asked about was how do we design it, or how are we determining our approach? How are we going after this stuff? And really what we said is if the training is really expensive, if it's really dangerous, or if it's just hard to access, then those are really the three qualifiers for possible VR content development. So in the imaging world, there's plenty of examples of that. So we want to identify really high-end, technically complex, difficult to deliver training and build that into VR so that it makes sense. If it's stuff that you can train in your shop at the hospital, you really don't need VR around that because you can do it right there. But it's that specialized, customized training that is either inaccessible, too dangerous, or too expensive to deliver otherwise. So there's, all of those thoughts, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but that's really been our approach.
I'd also like to say, if there's any philanthropists out there listening, please look us up at cbet.edu.
With your technology and then your mindset, a lot of biomed programs is primarily geared towards getting a BMET 1 out in the world. And, I've had several conversations with other people in our industry, like, what is our definition of a Biomed 1? Because it seems everybody has a little bit of different interpretation. I mean, even if you look at the biomed career ladders within companies, we all have different monikers, different names, different expectations for what each level of a biomed is. And I know there's been discussion of like what the standardization is, but what is, I guess, your philosophy and kind of your approach to what a Biomed 1 should be capable of doing after they leave the CBET program?
Monty, let me answer that first and then you elaborate on it. Because I have the service company as well, and I've been doing a lot of research as well as Monty, along with quite a few other organizations, because we all try to determine that answer. One of the things I've realized is different companies, whether ISO or OEMs, have different structures or different needs that they need for their Biomed 1. Therefore, that's the reason why their job descriptions may be different or the names may be different. But in essence, the foundation is all the same across the board. To be a biomed, you need these classes here, to get your basic foundation classes. And then from there, you need your specialized training. Well, we're fortunate at CBET that we linked in with a few companies, ISOs, where we're developing that training for them. So they hire their Biomed 1, but they realize they want that technician to have more specialized training in whatever area. So this is what we're doing through CBET to help them get their Biomed within 6 weeks to 3 months to a different level. There may still be a Biomed 1, but now it's a Biomed 1 for the way that they want that technician. And then versus a 2 or 3, we're not quite there yet or have established that yet right now, but for the one we have.
No, I think that's a really good question, Chase, and I do agree with Bill. It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. We've worked with a lot of different organizations, and most of them do not have that answer dialed in yet. I think it was
it's a quandary of the field.
So Amy's done some good work on that. Albrecht did a really wonderful job. His handbook that he created. I'm not sure there's a one size fits all. From an educational perspective, we can we can design a program that meets, I think, 95% of the industry's expectations with what a technician should look like when they come out of school. Formalizing a career pathing model that includes very specific job descriptions that everyone agrees to might be an impossible task. I think you have to make some generalizations.
Well, that's why I tailored the question like I did, because I knew I completely agreed. The way to design that is it's not one size fits all, because a Biomed one going into an ISO field organization compared to one going into an in-house Biomed program versus one going to start off as an OEM technician, they're all going to be doing different things, but the foundation is always the same. And I just thought that was kind of interesting, just because it's one of those things that gets brought up a lot whenever you get biomeds in a room together. So I appreciate that you guys recognize that. And obviously, this goes for in-house OEM or even ISOs. It benefits them to reach out to your program so that they can get something almost tailor-made that's going to benefit their organization the best. I mean, what other training programs out there can say they can do that or have that ability to facilitate that need for that company? That's a lot.
One of the projects we've been working on for the past 2 years is a software called Skillnet. And it's really a fantastic software. What we've done is worked with about 3 or 4 different organizations from sort of different flavors, healthcare organization, traditional hospital, a couple of ISOs out there, and went through their sort of skill database for their job requisitions, for the different levels. And then we sort of homogenized all of that into one big framework. And utilizing Skillnet, you can really sort of customize your job descriptions within an organization and then deploy that software to sort of better encompass and more specifically and accurately identify the requirements that are needed for your company. It's really it's a huge database and repository of possible skills and requirements that one might need. I'm doing a terrible job explaining it, but it's a great tool, an easy to use tool. And when we set off to design that, we actually were building it as part of our educational program initially to help assess a student's start point on day one, and then curate an academic pathway that was very customized to their needs. So it's sort of a barometer, and it's like, if he needs more of this, then we have curated academic pathways that can either give them additional training in electronics or networking or cybersecurity or whatever the case may be. That grew substantially to the point where now we're utilizing that as more of a lead assessment tool. So when we're working with some of the other companies out there, we use that to assess the workforce, assess where their technicians are at in particular areas, and then develop curated, customized training for them. One of our biggest successes so far is working with Sodexo. So Sodexo and our team are working together on really a sort of a mongoloid of a course. It's medical device integration, it's cybersecurity, it's networking, it's IT, it's all of that bundled into a 6-week course. But what we did was did an assessment of their entire fleet of technicians, and then curated that content, and then we're putting those technicians to this course 6 weeks at a time to sort of upskill and uptrain the technicians to deal with that Goliath of a problem that the entire healthcare industry is dealing with right now, and that's the medical device integration, cybersecurity, IT-related issues.
Right. It's a trend the way it's the way everything's going. So why not have that built into there? But also, too, you have it set up to where you can have a biomed that's been in the field and go take these courses and get set up for success. It's not just a Biomed one solution. You guys have stuff tailored to where, you can really enrich yourself as maybe a 2 or 3 or a specialty tech, especially once you guys start getting, even the VR set up and, all the specialty modalities with the partnerships from the OEMs. there's a lot of value here that's, just going to continue to add to the field. So it's not just, I don't want people to listen to this and be like, well, it's not relevant to me because I'm already in the field. No, you guys have stuff that people can tap into and really add to the resume.
In terms of, if you're a seasoned technician out there, probably where we add tremendous value is, if you want to get into imaging, we have, fully accredited imaging training programs that can really help people expand their careers and get into a different area of expertise and sort of, specialty. This fall, we're actually launching a bachelor's degree, a 4-year HTM degree. So if you have an associate degree in biomedical equipment technology and you want to push that into an HTM degree, then we'll have a 4-year HTM degree launched. We have a partnership with Central Washington University, and they're going to actually have a graduate degree level program that nests with ours. So we've got really big ambitions to grow our educational programming so that, again, that career path and academic path for a technician in the field can continue propelling them all the way forward and all the way through to whatever their ambitions or goals happen to be. But back to your point, Chase, we're 100% believers in continuing education and training. If not with us, with someone, you've got to keep moving the needle.
Yeah, we have a couple other programs that will be coming too in the beginning of the year. We're going to have the Master Series Management class. It's going to be either 6 to 8 classes that Al Gresh is going to be teaching. He's in the process of developing that right now with us. So we hire the best in the industry to help us educate. It's not just subpar individuals. They are the top of their field. So that's going to be a great class. And I believe it'll have as much credentialing as the CHTM exam. We also have the DNV for compliance, the CHOP A, the CHOP C, or B, I'm sorry, entry the CHOP E, which is, it's advanced, basic, and then goes into the administrative side for compliance. And whether it's Joint Commission or the DNV, compliance is compliance, and it really helps a biomed technician or HTM professional understand his job at a much higher level than usual.
Especially critical as we move forward, especially getting into accreditation. I mean, when you get into the field, at one point in time, you're going to experience having to work with or, work around the expectations of Joint Commission DNV. I mean, hospitals get their money through accreditation. So what does the Biomed facilitate? We make sure that they're in the standing and making everybody happy. So you have to be able to have some sort of knowledge, some kind of baseline for that. I want to get into, because besides obviously you are a college program, which entails you guys also speak to a lot of, I assume, high school students. One of the bases that we want to do is to build awareness within the field, let people know we're here, we've been here, and we're going to continue to grow. And this is a really enriching and fun field to be a part of. When you guys go out and speak to these students, I'm curious, what are some of the things that people get as confused with, or maybe, just anything that the students come up and tell you, what's the barometer, what's the breadth of what people take after you speak to them as well?
So I got a couple of things on that. So first off, about a month and a half ago, I went to Nashville, Tennessee for the International HOSA conference. And I don't know if you know what HOSA is, but HOSA is a international youth healthcare organization that now has a new name that HOSA doesn't actually apply to. So the acronym is no longer relevant. And I can't remember what the new name is, but they still call themselves HOSA. But they support the fostering of interest among youth, secondary and below, globally, to propel them and encourage them into healthcare careers and fields. Great organization. So I was invited to go to the organization a couple months ago. 15,000 high school students there in Nashville at one location at one time. Now, they did give me COVID, which I recovered from, fortunately. But aside from that,
everybody's getting it, man. I had it 2 weeks ago.
15,000 kids and not get COVID. I'll just put that out there. So great organization, great event. No one there none of the adults, none of the healthcare industry professionals, experts, none of the kids had any familiarity whatsoever with what a biomedical equipment technician is. The biggest thing they confused it with would have been a biomedical engineer, and some other loosely attached, career paths. So our work with HOSA is really focused on, let's take that organization that has 220,000 high school kids in it, and let's get them to really start to endorse and encourage kids to think about careers as biomedical equipment technicians. They love that idea. So we're going to be meeting with them again over the next 6 to 9 months, and starting to share and form a stronger partnership and relationship with many of the state organizations as well as nationally. It's a
awesome.
Great way to get our foot in front of that. So that's a tremendous opportunity. And Chase, just so you know, that might be a good future podcast for you as well, because the biggest state HOSA organizations right here in Texas. Actually, and their headquarters is in Dallas, so even easier for you. And I'll put you in touch with that guy. But that's a great organization. We really want to champion biomedical, that world into the youth program. So we're doing that. Earlier in the year, we worked with a Northside Independent School District right here in San Antonio, which is the largest school district, and they have a healthcare careers college and a biomedical engineering program. So we sponsored a handful of their kids and actually had them at our school for about 3 to 4 months, helping us do the VR development. So we actually had kids working VR development, writing storylines, and doing amazing work to further sponsor these kids. And then lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't point out the good work that Danielle McGreary has done at Amy with sort of the HTM in a box and getting the word out, and messaging, and championing the apprenticeship programs nationally and all that. They're just tremendous opportunities. We've just barely, we're barely touching on what we can do.
It's a drop in the pond, but as we build on it, it'll just grow and grow.
Running as fast as we can towards that, though, because it's a great area to focus, and I actually love youth education as well. It's kind of a passion project of mine, so the more we can do there, the better.
Monty was an ROTC high school instructor when I met him before he worked for the college.
Really? Okay.
We met on the rifle range.
How'd you like that?
I spent 10 years as a JROTC instructor after I retired from the Army, and absolutely loved it. And the only thing I've loved more than that is doing what I'm doing now. This is a great industry, and I love the work I do. But yeah, definitely youth education and those opportunities, and you kind of picking out the best and the brightest and encouraging them into career paths, and then that reward, seeing them succeed and build out a career path. And they might contact you 3 or 4 years later and say, "Look, I did it. I'm here." That's amazing. Yeah.
There you go. No, it's cool to go back to that and be like, "Hey, you made me. I'm doing well," and that's really rewarding for somebody that puts in the effort in the, getting them to where they are today, and looking back on it. It's really cool.
One of my former students / soldiers was the last time I saw him, he was a specialist in the Army, and he contacted me the other day. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Texas National Guard, and you're like, how the heck did that happen? But it's amazing.
You never know where you're going to end up. I mean, 5-10 years from where your biomed journey starts, and just in general in life, like, it's kind of interesting. You have a plan, you have a vision for yourself, and then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, I had no idea I would be here today.
You're right, and this is such an interesting industry because there are so many really great people out there who did not start their careers as a biomedical equipment technician. Some of your colleagues that are in the podcast world, like Cheryl, she was a police officer. She's a great lady. Talk about a great champion for the industry. Mm-hmm. Just constantly out there doing good work, and just totally different background and experience, and stumbled into this industry and is now, one of the biggest voices and champions of the stuff that, that you guys do every day. Yourself, Brian.
No, it's really neat. We have like a little community going. We got the HTM Insider podcast. We got Bryant's HTM on the line. Of course, Bearded Biomed. We got Justin doing the Better Biomed YouTube channel. I mean, it's kind of cool. We're starting to build a media infrastructure, other media, but it's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what it ends up becoming when you look back 10 years from now. I never thought I'd be doing this, but here I am. So yeah, absolutely. You have to be passionate about this kind of stuff. I'm going to continue to do it, and let's see if we uplift and make the field better. That's the whole. One of the things someone told me is leave the campsite better than where you 100%. Found it. I'm excited that we've gotten you guys on here. It's kind of been a scheduling thing, just as always with everybody. Biomeds are busy. We got things to do. I always like to end off the show with just some fun things that I've came up with that are a little bit nerdy, a little bit quirky, because that's me in a nutshell. So invite you guys to play a couple games and a couple questions here and there. It'll be
full disclosure, fun. Chase, I don't have a biomed background. I'm a knuckle dragging.
Oh, that's fine. It won't be too difficult.
That stumbled into the healthcare career field. So don't challenge me with too difficult a question.
Oh, don't worry.
Chase, I will say, though, I'd put Monty against almost anyone that's an HTM. He knows his HTM just like he learned the college education all within the last 4 years. So I'd put him up against anyone.
I think he just needs to give himself more credit, but we'll see what happens, won't we? Let's see. First one. Acronymal soup. Oddly enough, the idea for this segment of the show was inspired by Samuel Hill from Medigate. I saw a video of him on LinkedIn. He was asking people IT acronyms, which I think are there's just so many, it's monotonous. And I kind of feel like it kind of spans into the biomed realm as well. I recently got my CHTM certification, and the amount of acronyms that I had to study, my brain was spinning. Somehow I came out on top, but so a couple of them are going to be pretty easy. We'll just get you started.
Oh, give that one to Bill.
Well, that's easy. Healthcare technology management.
Ding, ding, ding. TJC. Oh, look at that. You tied it up. It's coming for you. CMS.
That one's Bill's.
Medical supply.
The Center for Medicare Medicaid Services.
Or Central Medical Supply.
Oh. See, that's what drives me nuts about acronyms is you'll have, a certain amount of letters, and the actual definition of the acronym is way more names involved in it.
CMS. I didn't hear CMMS, so I think that was an unfair question.
Okay, well, what's CMMS?
It's a database.
Hey, it works for me. What we say in the Army, as long as it's in the site picture.
Yeah, so this is a good point. So we have CMMS with 2 multiple choices.
Honestly, while this is a game I've tailored, this is more to bring awareness to how much we just all hate acronyms.
They are challenging.
Last one for you is NFPA.
Oh, that's National Fire Protection something.
Protection Agency.
What's funny is, Monty, you were so worried going into this, and you ended up clinching the victory. Just barely, though.
Yeah.
I'll give Bill an extra point just for because he wasn't technically wrong with CMS. All right, so this one is I'm going to tailor this just for Bill because obviously he has the biomed background, but I would love to get your take on this.
Oh, the modality.
Bill plays the ukulele. Bill plays the ukulele.
Like I'm
That's
on the
what I was
dating
going
game or
for.
something.
Chase, Bill plays the ukulele,
I'm
and
sorry?
he could create an original riff for you for any of these segments. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, all of the sound segments for the show I've recorded. It's me speaking, and I've just morphed my voice differently. That's one of my little things I like playing with the show. So, the modality is basically where I just ask you, what is a repair or maybe a service that you distinctly remember that maybe gave you PTSD, scarred you, or maybe left you with a laugh?
Well, I can remember my worst service call I call it the service call from hell, was back when I was in the Coulter days. It was a Friday. It was my birthday, and I was in a one-man area in Texas, El Paso. And so I had requested the evening off. In a one-man area, you have to do call all the time, you know. So they allowed me to have the evening off, and there's usually no calls, believe it or not, on a weekend out there. But unfortunately, on this one day, there was a call. It happened to be a hospital that the unit they wanted me to come work was a backup unit. They were not under service contract, and I had to refuse to call. They didn't call me directly. My dispatcher called me, and I had told them that I had permission to have off for the evening. So the dispatcher called me back again and asked me to go, and I told him no because I had a few drinks, and you're not going to drive when you have a few drinks. So long story short, I was supposed to go there the next day on a Saturday, and I usually don't work on Saturdays, but my boss called me up and said I needed to fly out to Phoenix for whatever reason to look at a sale to help the sales lady. So I fly out to Phoenix. I get a call from his boss telling me to fly back to El Paso to go to this hospital and repair the problem. So I get to the hospital, and as soon as I got there, this lab director came out and literally was yelling at me 2 inches away from my face. I felt like I was in boot camp again, just yelling. I could see his tonsils of, why he's never going to buy our equipment again and this. So as soon as he was done yelling, I said, all right, is it right if I get to the unit and see what I could do to repair it? It only took me 10 minutes to repair it. It was a thermistor, that caused the power supply to go out. And I went on there to tell him I had to repair it, thinking I was going to get an attaboy. And he commenced to go right back to my face yelling, it only took me 10 minutes to repair it. Why couldn't I come last night? So long story short, that was the worst service call I ever had in history. But what I did different is 2 months later, I went there and I gave him a free PM because it needed a PM. And I told him not to worry about it. And I left. But before I left, he called me back, told me to call the sales lady. And they ended up buying a Coulter as a primary unit just because I went back and did that PM. So it's funny how things change. But
yeah, I think as Biomeds, we got to recognize that sometimes it's not. I say it's a lot. It's not about the money. It's it kind of serves you well to let them know that at the end of the day, as a Biomed, we're there to serve the best interests of the facility and the patient. It's not about money for the Biomed. It's about the civil service of it.
No,
and I think
right.
most people, if not all of our colleagues, would agree that's why we get into the field.
But there was a valuable lesson taught. Fortunately, Coulter had excellent customer service skill training. Otherwise, I'd have probably wigged out too when he yelled at me. But, I was getting paid for him to yell pretty much. I don't know if his dog died that day or what happened to him. He might have had a bad day. But what I do know is you get paid to be a professional under any circumstance, and you don't lose your cool, and you stay professional. And as long as you do that, it pays dividends. You don't get personal about it. And
Absolutely.
you have to have compassion and say, well, this person can have a terrible day. You don't know what stressors he or she's going through, and you act professional and accordingly. And I think if everybody was to do that, it'd make it a much better world that we live in today.
So I cannot top that. I have several stories, but I can go on a rant about those any other time, any other episode.
Chase, that I can share. This is one of those transferable skill set moments. So when I became a warrant officer in the Army, they assigned me in my first assignment to operate, repair, and maintain a radar system, something I was wholly unqualified to do. And relied on my really wonderful team around me to save the day every day. We were at a site in Grafenwehr, Germany in the middle of winter, which is absolutely freezing if anybody's ever been there. And In the Army, of course, you have pacing items. And if it's a pacing item, well, then it needs to be operational. If it's not operational, it's a problem. So you can relate that to some of our, critical life-saving equipment that we have in hospitals. So same type of concept. That thing needs to always be running. So my radar went down at the same time that my heater in my Humvee went down. And I had to make a difficult choice. And we spent about 6 hours fixing that heater while I was sending excuses every hour. That's not working. So, yeah, so I guess that's my relatable story. Sometimes you got to make the difficult choice. And I just wanted to keep the team alive.
It's so funny with the technology that we have these days, just still how people don't realize that insulation is not really a thing in Humvees at all. If it's cold, you're cold.
That's
If
right.
it's hot, you're probably going to be hot. And I can definitely sympathize with you. The motor pool days. While it wouldn't be Biomed related, I can imagine an episode coming down the line just someday on this podcast,
That's
just
great.
Army stories, because there's so many of us that could just all day long this
You could
crazy
probably
stuff
do a
that we've had to
PG
deal with.
episode and a rated R episode. One for nighttime.
Yeah, exactly. well, yeah, Biomed after night.
Yeah. Biomed after night.
You never know. All right, so I got one more game for you, and this one, Bonnie, you'll be able to play too. It's not so much as a game; it's just a question. Let me get the button going.
To be or not to be?
So on to be or not to be, simply, I just asked the nerdiest question I can think of as a biomed. Take any medical device that comes to mind. Look the function of that device, and that is your superpower.
Well, you want to take this one first, huh?
Yeah, I think I would choose some sort of anesthesia machine because I would like to be able to just put people to sleep or wake them up when I need to, or just administer any sort of medications like at my power. And I would have a lot of fun with that. If I wanted to be entertained, I could administer ketamine. If I just needed a break, I could put people to sleep. I think that would be my choice.
With that power too, you probably would never have a bad night of sleep.
Very
You'd have a
possible.
perfect night of sleep every time. Which I think when we start getting older, like that just sounds mesmerizing to us. What about you, Bill?
I don't know. I guess I'd like to be a database. This way I never forget about any information. I can always have instant recall on whatever I need.
That's very highbrow. I would have never thought of that. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like your own CMS or PAC system just in your mind, but for everything in life.
Exactly. I'd be like a Google. I'd know. Just ask me. I got the answer for you.
The first episode that I aired this segment and I asked the question, someone brought up bladder scanner. He's like, I don't think I want to stick with that choice.
Okay.
And I said, probably the only one that would be worse than a bladder scanner is picking a
both of those are
Neptune.
bad choices.
Just, waste
Wow.
management system. This goes back to one of my worst service calls I've gotten and David actually put the picture of it that I sent to him in his book. I walked into a surgery center and the Neptune had a sign on it and it said hot and smelly, but they were complaining it was a drain issue.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Those big yellow rubber gloves that you wear or see in the old style movies when you wash dishes? I wore those. It still didn't help because I still had a nose.
Yeah, I do have another pretty funny Biomed story. I should have made that one instead of this other one. Is I went into this small lab and I knew the lab tech. We were actually friends. There was 4 of them, and there was in a clean room. It was at a wound center, and they spent 12 hours scrubbing this room down, cleaning. And they told me to be very careful in there. I was working on a ZBI that had mercury on it, and the mercury needed to be exchanged and cleaned out. So this is the first time in my life I ever put on a spacesuit. So I'm walking in there, hazmat suit. I'm walking in there just kind of playing around, acting like, Star Trek or something. Meanwhile, I'm spilling the mercury. I have it on a tube and I'm not paying attention. And all the mercury is going on the floor into 1,000 little beads. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't cover this up. I got to tell them. But we had a mercury spill kit with a suction device, like a syringe. So I'm trying to suck all this mercury off the floor. And I finally, I remember the lady's name, but I won't mention it just for anonymity. So I went ahead and called her and I said, I spilled mercury in here. And she thought I was joking. And I said, no, I really did. I'm cleaning it up now. And this lady, even though we were friends, she said she hates my guts that day. Clean this up. And then she had to spend another 8 hours cleaning that whole place down. So, and there is nothing I could do to make it up to her. I mean, we laughed about it, but it took 5 years. So that was just an embarrassment.
Okay, so you're still friends. Mercury ruins relationships.
You know how crazy that was back then? They had us carry mercury in the car, and we find out now it's hazardous in heat. The vapors from mercury is very hazardous, and the car always had a funny smell in the summertime. So if I act a little weird, I blame it on the mercury.
Fair enough, man. I loved having you guys on today. It's been really awesome, and it's one of my bucket list items. I have a long list, and I've just been checking them off as I go with each episode. So it's been pretty cool and rewarding. I really look forward to working with you guys in the future as well. For the people that are watching this, and maybe you're not a biomed yet, and you want to learn more about the field, you want to get further information. I'm going to have information in the description below to send you straight to these guys so they can get you on the path of the biomed. And, just for those listening, where can they reach out to get more information?
Our
about
website
CBET?
is really difficult to remember. www.cbet.edu. If you're interested in imaging education and training, it's www.theimagingacademy.com. And either of those websites are active and live, and you get all our information on there, and we'd love to hear from you.
This is your first challenge to see if you're ready to be a biomed.
That's
if
right.
you can remember those websites. The first test. Oh, man. So, again, I appreciate you guys being on the show today. It was an absolute pleasure. I appreciate all that you do for the HTM field and, bringing up the next generation for us to, instill our knowledge on and eventually take over for us doing the work day in and day out. So, thank you very much. Forward to work with you guys, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Chase. Have a good day, bud.
May the beard be with you.